Hello everyone, Stormy Strike here, and in this video we're going to be going over the numbers and variations for the Heroes Welcome Surprise model and all the other special runs for this year's BreyerFest. And we're doing that because this year's a special year. It was BreyerFest's 30th anniversary, which meant they ended up throwing in some surprises for the special runs this year. If you saw my prediction video on the special runs, I predicted that it was possible they would be doing something along these lines since they did that for the 25th anniversary. They threw in special silver charm decorator variations in with all the special runs. And they did a similar thing this year, although instead they did pearly models and different colored models, and well, you'll see. We'll go through and talk about all of them. There's also a couple other variations for the special runs that were unannounced before BreyerFest. And then, of course, the surprise horse, which we didn't know about until BreyerFest. And my guess on the surprise horse was wrong because it did not follow the live auction pattern. So I am no longer going to be taking the live auction pattern into account when I try to predict the surprise horse for future BreyerFests. But anyway, let's actually get into these numbers here. Let's go ahead and start off with the regular special runs, and then we'll do the surprise horse last. So right from the BreyerFest blog, it says, guests loved our surprise silver charm models at our 25th birthday bash in 2014, and still talk about them to this day. In typical BreyerFest fashion, we decided to put a little twist on the theme for our 30th anniversary as well. We could have simply hid 30 pearly models throughout our special runs, but we decided to get a bit more creative. Hidden throughout our special run models were slight variations on the original colorways with pearly base coats to tie into our pearl anniversary. We gave our guests a little treasure hunt to celebrate 30 years of BreyerFest. So I actually have a lot other stuff I want to talk about in regards to the special runs, which I don't think I'm going to get too much into this video because I'm going to be talking about that again in another video. But this year, I don't know for sure if all the special runs sold out, but I think at pretty much the end of BreyerFest, they pretty much sold out of all of them. If they have any left, they have Pepper left, but I'm kind of doubting it. I really think they did end up selling out of all the special runs this year. But one of the main reasons I think they all sold out this year was because of these variations. Everyone was trying to get one of these really rare variations. So the first variation up here is one that at first people were thinking, oh, they might not be doing a variation of Bucky, but I was like, oh, but they're doing variations of the other models. They have to do a special variation of the animal too. They did that with the bears as a silver charm variation in 2014, so why wouldn't they do that with Bucky this year? And so they did. They gave Bucky a pearly base coat on his white, and then they also made his what was brown patches on him. A very shiny, metallic, color-shifting kind of blue. He does look really cool. It says from Breyer, let's start things off with Bucky. He might look a little bit unrealistic with his metallic blue spots, but we have a soft spot for our 30-piece Bucky variation. We still love his traditional spots as well. And I do like that they didn't just have the 30 solid pearly colored models mixed in with each of the special run variations. I think these little color twists that they are doing on these, which if you haven't seen them already, you'll see them in a second here as I go through them. But I think they are really cool. I'm glad they did something more than just 30 plain colored pearly models. I mean, those would have been still cool, but the fact that they have these little creative twists on the model, I think was a really good decision this year. And as has already been proven by the sales of these special runs, I think they were definitely a big hit. The next special run here is Banner. Now, Banner was normally in red and black, but Banner made another BreyerFest 2019 appearance in a breathtaking blue-green glossy Tortiga coloring, reminiscent of a special run from our 20th birthday bash in 2009, Gala the Five Gator. So instead of having a pearly run for this decorator, which actually does make more sense that they just had a different color variation instead of trying to throw pearl in there somewhere. And it is very reminiscent of that Gala 5 Gator that they're talking about, which you'll see a picture of on screen. And I did see one of these guys in person. The room across from me, they had the red and the blue banners, and they were both super gorgeous. Oh my goodness. The blue banner is really amazing looking. Next up is Pepper, and I will read Breyer's little thing here first. It says, instead of Pepper's sassy chestnut Sabino coat, you might have received one of the 30 gray Sabino models instead. The salt to pepper, if you will. Now, if you guys watched my opinions on the BreyerFest special run video thing, I did mention that I thought Pepper would look really cool, actually, with those same markings and stuff, if she was actually a gray instead of the chestnut. And I even did like a little mock, color thing of her to show what she would look like. And then how crazy that they ended up doing a version similar to that. They have her with white pearly markings, and then she's like a flea-bitten gray, and then with a dark mane and tail. So that is the rare, only 30 made variation of Pepper. I am surprised that there wasn't another variation to the Pepper model. I was really expecting that they were going to do the run half matte and half glossy, but they didn't end up doing that. The regular Peppers are all just in matte. I'm very surprised by that. I really thought she was going to be the one that they were going to do a 50-50 split on matte and glossy. I feel like she probably would have looked really pretty in glossy, and that she would have been a little bit more popular if there were glossy ones mixed in too, because she was the least popular special run this year. She was the last one left over at all the special run times. Although I bet if this particular color of her, this beautiful flea-bitten gray, would have been the main color of her, she probably would have been a lot more popular. I think this model looks so cool and so pretty. Next up is Rocket. Now, Rocket did not have any special variations besides this rare 30 pearly variation. He just had the matte models across the board, except for one that I am going to be talking about. I don't know if it's in my experience video or it might just be my haul video, but I am going to show you. I have actually kind of a weird variation of Rocket that I'm going to be talking about in my haul video. It says, Rocket was painted as a light dappled buckskin, but 30 lucky shoppers walked away with a slight twist on his original color, a light dapple buckskin pinto. And so you can see he's got some really cool pinto markings, and they're in that shiny pearly color. I have a friend that actually got the Pinto Rocket, and that was the special run he wanted the most, out of all the special runs. So it was really cool that he managed to get one of these guys. Next up is Natasha. Natasha's special run had 30 flaxen liver chestnut pintos hidden amongst the bright bay pinto models. I actually never saw this variation in person. I didn't see the blue Bucky in person either, I don't think. But she looks really cool. Again, it has that really pearly white markings. She's this really pretty liver chestnut color. And then there is Quill, who actually does have a 50-50 split on the run. Half of the Quill models were glossy, and then the other half were matte. Again, I'm surprised that he was the one that had the glossy and matte thing instead of Pepper, because his color is already really pretty and stuff is matte, I think. But it's cool that they did him in glossy too. It says this year's 50-50 matte glossy split was Quill, with half of the run produced in glossy finish and half of the run produced in matte finish. For our 30th birthday surprise, there were also 30 extra special amber champagne blanket Appaloosas hidden in his run throughout the weekend. So there you have it. There's the, what do they call it, amber champagne blanket Appaloosa version of him. Admittedly, he's kind of the least exciting color-wise for, I think, what they did for the variations. He's like the one I'm least thrilled about for some reason. I'm not as amazed by his color variation as I am with the other ones. Again, I'm pretty sure it doesn't really show it well in his picture, but he is supposed to have that pearly white for his Appaloosa pattern as well. And then for Diana. Now, Diana also has a variation in her run. Diana had a total of 3 variations. Roxy's loose and braided manes made an appearance in this run. 50% of the Diana models were produced with hunter braids and 50% with a flowing mane and tail. We also couldn't forget our 30 special models for Diana. A few lucky fans walked away with a glossy bay splash pinto models with a loose mane. So there you have it. Half of the Dianas actually had the braided mane and tail, hunter mane and tail variation, and then the other half had that loose mane and tail that we saw originally in the pictures. And then, of course, the 30 variation, which, again, really cool with these really pearly white markings added to Diana. I think that was a fun little thing to do for her, to actually be adding white markings to her and not actually changing her color like they did with the other ones. So now let's move on to the last special run for BreyerFest 2019, and that is the surprise model, the Hero's Welcome Surprise. The wait is over. The full numbers for the BreyerFest 2019 surprise model, the Hero's Welcome Surprise, have been revealed. This year we designed 6 new colorways on this gallant Spanish stallion for guests to enjoy. This year's BreyerFest surprise model was on Kathleen Moody's Andalusian Stallion mold, number 584. And we had another hidden surprise amongst the run. We couldn't celebrate our 30th anniversary without a pearly surprise model, could we? So yes, this year, as again, I mentioned this in my BreyerFest speculation video. I mentioned for the colors, I said that maybe there would actually be 6 colors this year if they threw in a special variation for all of the special runs. And I was right, there are in fact 6 variations for the surprise horse this year. And I think it's safe to say that 5 is going to become the new norm now. I'm guessing that they are going to have 5 variations of the surprise horse again next year. But we'll talk more about that when it's time to talk more about the surprise horse for next year. But anyway, here are the numbers for these guys. The dark dapple gray has 1,000 matte and 200 glossy, so that is the most common color. Then is the chestnut pinto of 850 matte and 200 glossy. The dapple pearl, which is kind of weird. I don't know why they're calling it the dapple pearl, because everyone's like, oh, we've all been calling it the champagne horse this weekend. But yeah, it's that kind of champagne, ambery kind of colored horse. And for him, he has 650 matte and 200 glossy. The rose gray has 520 matte and 200 glossy. And then the decorator has 400 glossy. And last but not least, of course, the rare 30th anniversary variation, which is the pearly black leopard Appaloosa, which is 30 matte. And so the leopard Appaloosa, he does have a pearly white color all over him, and then has like little dark gray speckles in him, and then those really pretty black spots. I am surprised that they actually did so many solid colors of the surprise horse. Normally there's only like 1 solid color surprise model, and then the rest are like pintos and an appy and a decorator thrown in there. So I was surprised this year that there was only 1 pinto and then 3 solid colored horses. So they did throw a loop a little bit on the colors this year. And the pinto one, even though he is not the surprise rare variation of 30, he is also a very, very pearly model. He doesn't have that flat, bare plastic white color for him. His white is actually very pearly. Something really interesting for the surprise horse this year is that the decorator variation actually didn't have matte and glossy variations. It only had glossy variations. Because normally the decorators do have the same variations as the other guys. My guess is that maybe the matte and glossy on the decorator were just kind of so hard to tell apart that they decided just to do them all in glossy. I'm not entirely sure what the reasoning behind that was, but that's going to be kind of my guess, is maybe there just wasn't enough of a variation between the 2 finishes, so they decided to just put them all as glossy. It was kind of hard to tell, though. I don't want to get into too much what my special runs and stuff were at BreyerFest, because I want to hold back that information until my other videos. But I saw the decorators in person, and I didn't really particularly notice them as glossy at first, or as matte. They were kind of like in between. And the glossy models for the surprise horses this year, a lot of people were saying that the gloss on them was kind of different. It was more like a really heavy semi-gloss. It wasn't really that really thick glossy gloss that the models are usually in. But I've been hearing rumors that Breyer's been having trouble with glossing models lately. There's just been, I guess, something weird going on with the gloss or something. Because there's been, I guess, some problems with the glossy models, and then someone actually heard Breyer say that they've been having problems with it. So maybe they used a different kind of gloss than they normally do for these models for that reason. I'm not really sure, but it is a little interesting that that's been something that's different this year, that the decorator is only in 1 finish. There has been a lot of color variations for the decorator. I will pull some pictures up that I've found just randomly on the internet and eBay and whatever I can find. But the colors on them kind of vary. It's actually a very silver and green color, but some have a lot more silver than green. Some have more of a translucent color and like not a lot of silver. Some have just a lot of green on top of the silver. There's a lot of variations in the coloring for the decorator models. And actually at BreyerFest, people were speculating that there was going to be like 2 distinct variations where one was like a silver and then one was a transparent one, because these variations in their colors were so drastic. But as it turns out, I guess there is not a specific variation like divide for the decorators. There is just a wide variety of how their colors turned out. Alright, lastly what I want to do here is do actually a little bit of simple math. So while Breyer did give the breakdown with the entire numbers for the Heroes Welcome Surprise, they didn't say the exact numbers now for the special runs now that they had the variations mixed in there. But with some math, it's kind of easy to figure out already. But I'm going to go ahead and give you those numbers so you can know them anyway. First off is Bucky. So he had 770 of the regular color then, and then 30 the decorator to make the total of 800 made. Banner was the same, 770 in red, the 30 in blue, to make a total of 800 made. Now there were 1,545 made of Pepper, which means 1,515 of her were made in chestnut, and then the 30 in gray. For Rocket, he had a total run of 1,725, which means 1,695 of them were in buckskin, and then the other 30 in the Pinto. Natasha, similar deal. There was a total of 1,650 of her made, so 1,620 of her were in bay, and then 30 in liver chestnut. Then Quill and Diana is where it has the half and half of the variations or so. So there were 825 of Quill made in matte, 825 made in glossy, and then 30 in the amber champagne color, which makes a total of 1,680. For Diana, her total run was actually 1,800. She was the highest run besides the Heroes Welcome Surprise, and so she had 885 in braided mane and tail, 885 in loose mane and tail, and then the remaining 30 Pinto. So there you guys have it. Breyer had finally announced all the special run numbers and stuff, so now we know and are no longer having to guess on things. Now, there are some interesting things with these special runs, which I guess I'll touch on, but I'm going to be talking about this more in other videos and stuff too, which is that there have been chalky variations of some of the special runs popping up. I actually have a chalky variation. The Rocket I was mentioning earlier is a chalky variation, and you'll see him in my BreyerFest videos later. He is 100% chalky. I can absolutely tell that he's chalky, but I'm pretty sure that he was kind of a mistake. I think they started to paint like pearl on him or something, because you can see a little bit of a pearly like finish around one of the masking on his legs, but then they were like, oops, wait, we don't need this pearl model or something, or they just messed up on it or something, I don't know. So they went ahead and painted over it with the white chalky base coat, and then just continued painting the model like normal, and sold it as is so that they didn't end up throwing away a body of Rocket that could have been saved. I've also heard of someone having a chalky dappled gray and champagne horse for the decorators, the dappled gray and the champagne. I've seen pictures of those two. Those are definitely chalky. I can definitely tell in the pictures. And I think it's probably the same thing. Maybe they messed up a little bit on the painting or something. I don't know what they messed up exactly, but they probably messed up on something and they didn't want to just completely throw away the model body because maybe it was still good to use. They just messed up a little, so they said, we'll just throw a base coat of white chalky over it and continue painting like nothing. But I am curious if there have been some other chalky models that have popped up. I was wondering for a little while if maybe they were a run done on purpose. I didn't really think that Breyer would do a chalky base coat run really on purpose, since a lot of people, especially newer collectors, have a harder time recognizing that. I see people even have a hard time recognizing glossy and matte models from each other sometimes, especially when models are already kind of pearly and shiny. So I was kind of thinking that a deliberate run of chalky models wasn't done, but there are definitely some chalky special runs out there. But I think they were kind of just unintentional from Breyer. I am curious to see if any more of them pop up. So far, I've only heard of Rocket and then the Surprise Horse having some chalky variations. I don't believe I've heard or seen any of the other special runs have a chalky base coat variation, but I want to keep my eyes out for those, though, because I think that is really interesting if they have done some unintentional chalky base coat models. So that'll wrap up that video. And if you're wondering which special runs I got, you're going to have to wait until my BreyerFest videos. I'll be showing some of them in my experience videos And then my full entire haul video will, of course, have all the special runs I ended up with as well. But to keep the suspense, I'm not going to reveal all of the special runs that I got at BreyerFest yet. Thank you guys for watching. Keep an eye out for the rest of my post-BreyerFest 2019 videos. I hope you guys have a super duper awesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye, everyone!